Thank you very much, Mr. Hosono. So we slowly learn more and more about the situation in the plants. We are looking forward for the next update, maybe later, when you can announce the results of the sampling. But now you have the floor for questions. Please working press first, and one question per person. Hands up, please. Yeah.
John Boyd, IEEE Spectrum. Probably this is better answered by Nishiyama-san. The outside water coolers, you mentioned on the Friday briefing that the design has already been more or less decided and that you've given the design to the builders. I wonder if you could give us some details about what the design is about, how it works, your expected performance, and also if any foreign firms are involved in the technology that will be used. Some media reports suggested that France's Arriva would be supplying some technology. Could you give us any details on what foreign firms might be doing in this area too? Thank you.
まず、今のご質問で冷却システムのことだと思いますので、これは基本的に外国の会社は関係なくて、アレバなどがインボルブされているのは水をきれいにする方の2号機に関連する水をきれいにする方のシステムです。
First of all, I believe your question was about the outside cooling system. First of all, there is no foreign company involved in this outside cooling system. Yes, Arriva is involved in some of our efforts, but they are basically involved in the water filtration or water decontamination system for reactor number 2.
このアウトサイドクーリングシステムについても外国からの技術的な助言はいただいております。
Having said this, however, in regard to this outside system, there have been, we have received some advice from other nations, technological advice.
今のアイデアは1号機の格納容器に水を燃料の部分まで満たした後、その水を外に備えたクーリングシステムに引き抜いてきて冷やしてまた元へ戻すというシステムです。
The idea that we're working with right now is that once we have been able to fill the primary containment vessel with water up to the level of the fuel rods, then we want to be able to extract this water outside and work it through this outside cooling system and then bring it back into the containment vessel.
その際の冷却のシステムは基本的に空気で冷やすんですけれども、そこに水の気化熱を奪うことによる水の冷却も一部取り入れた形のものを考えています。
And in regard to the technology involved, basically the cooling system uses air to cool the water, but it also uses the natural energy of water evaporating to also cool the water.
これはもうほぼ設計は終わっておりますけれども、今日から人が1号機の原子炉建屋の中に入っていますので、これから詳細な調査をした上でつけていく場所とかタイミングを決めていきます。
So we basically have this system more or less worked out. However, as you know, today workers entered reactor number 1 for the first time after the accident. They will make a detailed survey of the inside of the building, and then based on this survey, we will decide the best time and the best place to establish this system.
I'm Martin Fritz with the German business magazine, Business Week or Wirtschaftswoche. You were speaking about transparency. What I'm missing, and I think that's the concern of most foreign reporters, is the temperature inside the reactor core containers. Why don't we get a daily report on the temperature and the pressure inside of these 3 reactors, 1, 2, 3? And why don't we get to know how high is the level of water inside these reactors? Even if you don't know it, we would like to know that you don't know it. So we would like to have this information daily. Is that possible?
透明性という意味でいろいろご質問いただいたことは非常にありがたいというふうに思っています。ただ我々自身もですね、分かることと分からないことがあるんだということをぜひご理解いただきたいと思います。
So I appreciate your question about transparency, but I would like for you to understand that there are things that we know and there are things that we do not know.
つまり温度はですねほぼ分かっておりますので、分かっている情報は全て公開をしております。そしてまだ十分取れてないところの温度はおそらく1号機でまた新たなそういう計器を取り付けることによって正確な情報の提供ができるのではないかというふうに思います。
For example, in regard to the temperature, we do have a general understanding of the temperatures in some of the reactors, and we have disclosed this information. There are areas where we do not have information yet, for example, in reactor number 1. As soon as we are able to put on monitoring equipment and know this temperature, we will, of course, want to be able to disclose this as well.
一方水位はですね、水位計がほぼ壊れておりますので、わからないんです。ですから我々も水位をしっかり知りたいものですから、1号機のフラッディングをするときにどこまで上がったのか、いろんな兆候をですね測ることによって把握をしようと努めたんですが、これがなかなか困難でですね、水位については正確な情報をですね我々も得ることができておりません。
In regard to the water levels, almost all of the gauges which measure the water levels were broken, and we do not have this information. We, of course, have a burning desire to find this information as well. So, for example, with the reactor number 1, when we flooded the system, we wanted to try to gauge how high the water level had risen. We tried to look at many of the symptoms or characteristics of the system, trying to therefore calculate how high the water level had gone. However, all of these assumptions really did not work. We still do not know the water levels.
ようやく1号機に入ることができましたので、故障を示してしまった計器の機能を取り戻すような形で、新たなそうした計器を設定をすることができれば水位も測ることができるようになりますので、その情報はもちろん皆さんですね即公開をしていきたいというふうに思います。
But fortunately, we have been able now to be able to enter reactor number 1 building, and as a result, we will be able to check the water level gauges. We will be therefore able to shortly recover the functions of these water gauges, either repairing them or attaching new ones. As soon as we have this information, we will immediately disclose it. Oh, excuse me, just the interpreter confirmed, we are disclosing this information daily.
Freelancer from Germany. I have a more general question. There was a report last week in Oriental Economist, a monthly magazine, that the future of Japan could be very unstable because after the March 11 earthquake, the underground of Japan is much more unstable than before. So there could be in the next 20 or 30 years some major earthquake. So if we go to perhaps to the Kanagawa area, coastline, there are a lot of cities built near to the coastline. So in this way, I think the same what happened in Sanriku would happen in Kanagawa, or perhaps Shizuoka is the same. Does the government think about these problems?
ありがとうございます。ご質問いただきまして、30年以内に、東海地震が起こる可能性がですね 87% というのは、非常に高い可能性ですし、日本の大きなリスクだというふうに私も認識しています。
Thank you very much for your question. Yes, the fact that seismologists are predicting with 87% certainty that a huge earthquake will hit the Tokai region within the next 30 years, this represents a tremendous high probability, and therefore it represents a tremendously high risk, huge risk for Japan.
その、30年以内に 87% というこのリスクがあることが、浜岡原子力発電所をですね一旦停止をするという政治判断にも、直結をいたしました。
It is actually the high probability that I've just described existing, within 30 years, 87% probability, that led to this political decision to temporarily close down the Hamaoka nuclear power plants.
ただ私は地震や津波というのは日本の宿命ですので、乗り越えることができるというふうに考えています。今回の東日本の大震災についても大きな被害が確かに出ましたけれども、地震に対しては相当の対応ができた。ただ残念ながら津波にはですね十分な備えができていなかったことがこの被害のですね大幅な拡大につながったというふうに考えています。
But I personally feel that Japan is a country destined to always be buffeted by earthquakes and tsunamis. And however, I believe also that we will be able to counteract them or work against them as well. When we look at what happened in the Tohoku region, certainly the disaster was tremendous. However, if we just look at the earthquake part of it, we see that the technologies that we've developed over time are so great that we were able not to have such tremendous damage from the earthquake itself. Unfortunately, of course, we were not as well prepared for the tsunami.
東海地方の中でも私が地元としております静岡県は最も地震に対しての対応に努めてきた県でございます。したがって地震に対する対応という意味では相当の準備が進んでいるというふうに思っています。ただ津波はどうかということに関して言うとですね、15メートル級の津波が来るということはなかなか想定しがたいことでございましたので、大きな課題を残しているというふうに思います。
In regard to the Tokai region, actually, my own district, my electoral district for Shizuoka is in this Tokai region, and therefore I can tell you that we in this region are extremely prepared for earthquakes. We are probably one of the best prepared regions in Japan in regard to earthquakes. However, as I mentioned earlier, in regard to tsunamis, not as much serious thought has been given to tsunamis as earthquakes. If you were to ask us, are we prepared to deal with a 15-meter high tidal wave, probably this is something that we still need to work upon. It's a tremendous issue still remaining for us.
非常に今回はですね不幸な大災害でございましたけれども、私どもはこれを単にですね不幸な事件で終わらせるのではなくて、津波に対して強い日本社会を作っていく教訓にもしなければならないというふうに思っています。
Certainly, the tremendous disaster that hit the Tohoku region was something that we all regret tremendously. However, I don't want things to simply end that way. I don't want to simply say, well, that was very sad, it was a tremendous tragedy. But rather, I would like for Japan to be able to learn from what happened in the Tohoku region and use that knowledge to build a stronger, more resilient Japan.
つまり地震に対しての備えだけではなくて、特に東海地方ではですね津波に対するさまざまな備えもすることによって私はこうしたリスクにですね備えることが十分にできるというふうに考えています。
In other words, it is not enough simply to prepare ourselves for earthquakes, but especially in regard to the Tokai region, we must become very prepared to deal with huge tidal waves, tsunamis. I believe that these are the kinds of things that we can eventually prepare for. Risks are things that we can prepare for.
逆に津波がどういう被害をどういう形でもたらすかということが正確に分かりましたから、そのことは必ず教訓にしなければならないというふうに思います。
Another way of putting it is that as a result of what happened in the Tohoku region, we were able to see firsthand how tsunamis actually work, how they, what kind of damage they wreak, and how they move, etc. I believe, therefore, that this knowledge can serve us in the future as we prepare for them.